Chiefs Kingdom, welcome into the AP Film Room, a beautiful edition, a beautiful episode of the show, of the YouTube show on the Arrowhead Pride YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribing, make sure you're liking the shows, the other clips. We got Madden simulations too. You got to love those. Shout out Kramer Sansone. But today we're breaking down real football, and we're breaking down real football that led to a Super Bowl appearance, the third in the Pat Mahomes era. We are excited to break it down here. I am Ron Kopp Jr., the lead analyst at the site. With me, as always, two great film analysts for us, Caleb James and Nate Christensen. You know, Nate, I'll start with you, man. Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. It wasn't always, especially this game, didn't always look like they were going to get all the way there. But how are you feeling after that game?
Yeah, so when I typically watch a game, my brain's kind of focused on what's going on just as much as the result or anything like that, just because I have to write about it, I have to think about it going into the week. The second half of that game, I was I have no idea what was going on. I had to rewatch it because I was just too I was invested in every single play. In the first half, I was all right, Chiefs are doing this, they're doing this. Second half, it was just did they win on a play or not?
Right.
I was invested into it when they converted that 3rd and 16 in the red. I slammed my hat to the couch. I thought it was over. I was if we didn't get off the field that play, I was that's over. But it was just a crazy swing. Those last 9 minutes, you could just tell, even watching the coach's film or watching the game, every player was tight. Every single player was completely tight. And that's not a criticism because there was just so much on the line. In those moments, and obviously Chiefs came out victorious. I didn't hate the 4th and 8 punt, to be honest with you, because the Chiefs had Marcus Kemp, Sky Moore, and MVS as receivers. I really don't think they were going to convert that. I saw something that was the 99th percentile punt surrender. I thought that was ridiculous, honestly. I actually thought punting was fine, but I would be lying if I said I thought the Chiefs were going to win at that moment. I don't think they were in a good position whether they were going to go for it or not. But they pulled it out, and that's all that matters. In the playoffs, I always say the only thing that matters is you win. It doesn't matter how you do it. Regular season, it matters how you do it. Postseason, it doesn't. So to beat the Bengals, it was just an amazing win.
Survive in advance, as they say. Caleb, you were at the game as well as I, so I know you were as tight as Nate was talking about all the players on the field. I mean, we were all tight. It doesn't matter where you were. We were all tight, but that nervous energy was definitely there on that punt. You can just talk about, obviously the game itself, but I don't know. What do you think about that 4th and 8 punt too? I mean, do you agree with Nate? I agree with Nate. I'm with Nate on that.
I think it was the right decision. I agree with all those things said. I also think that Andy Reid knew eventually his pass rush was going to get home. The 3rd and 16 did scare us, but as you come back to it, Chris Jones stepped up and made that massive play down the line. But really the whole game, being able to be there in person, experience it. It was one of those once in a lifetime games because, we've had the AFC Championship and each one, 5 straight seasons, and each one has had their own special storyline. Each one has had the, plays that you think of, whether it just be the gut wrench loss to Brady in 18, that redemption, that feeling of finally being able to break through and go. In 19, the feeling of being able to defend the AFC again in 20, the heartbreak of last year, and then everything that happened last year through the week and into this one with a lot of trash talking by the Cincinnati Bengals. Ron, you were smoking on that Burrow pack at the end of the game. I saw smoking that cigar there in the stadium at the end.
Yes, sir.
Can I ask, did you bring that in? Did someone give it to you?
Oh, we brought it in. No, it's funny.
Okay.
It is a funny story. I mean, we were just on the way to the game and we were stopping by, just to get stuff at a gas station. And my friend was just like, shoot, why don't we just grab a cigar, just, a victory cigar? And it was a little shot at Joe Shiesty, I will say, Joe Burrow. I mean, it was, we kind of had that thought, but yeah, man, it was a beautiful moment, beautiful night, fellas. I mean, I don't know. It's a great time to be a Chiefs fan. It was nice to pummel the Bengals. I mean, my God, they were hanging banners over the video boards at Arrowhead saying Burrowhead. I mean, I was tired of it, man. So,
then Kelsey after. I mean, I've seen Bengals fans mad about what the Chiefs were saying after the game. What do you think they were going to say if they won?
I know.
You think we were going to say, "Oh, thanks for coming to play"? I don't know.
Well, yeah, and that they weren't going to hear that or respond, they weren't going to acknowledge any of that. I mean, that mayor stuff was corny, but it was disrespectful as heck. I mean, Absolutely. I'm glad they called him out. The jabroni himself.
Know your role.
Mayor Jabroni. Yeah, know your role and shut your mouth. Well, I mean, I said I can't believe I said the B word. I didn't want to say it anymore. The B word that people tried to use for Arrowhead. I'm gonna put it out of my vocabulary. But the person that took most offense to that, Caleb, was the man that you went to the film and broke down for the site. Chris Jones. Dude went off. Dude was a star defensive tackle in this game. And he let people know. He said it to the camera. He was threatening people. Do not ever say that again. So I'm just not gonna say it. I don't know about you guys. I'm just not gonna say it anymore. So why don't you tell us about Chris Jones' huge day?
Before this week leading into the game, I wrote about Chris Jones versus them the first time, and I think they threw the ball 33 times and double teamed him. Some 20 of those times. This week, I wrote about it again, my article last night, and on 45 passing downs, I think they double teamed him, 33 times. He got triple teamed once, but really he finished the game with 2 sacks. He finished the game with 10 pressures by my count, 5 quarterback hits, and he was really just all over the place making an impact, even on the plays where he didn't specifically make the tackle or, make the play himself. It was the Bengals double teams that really did them in, their willingness to double team him, and give credit to Spags. Spags played his best game ever. But if you look at the top of the screen, you can see Frank Clark out moving around. Willie Gay starts to come from wide, and you can see Gay gets around the outside. Clark loops back in. You see the sack, but let's go see how this all unfolds and why it unfolds. Chris Jones lined up on the right side, that 4-eye. You see Clark out wide. You see Willie just right there by the marker. And on the snap, you see Willie start to widen out, and he is coming hot off the edge. This is what you want. But you take a look at Chris also. He gets inside of the guard. He looks at Ted Karras, the center. Double's coming. But Frank is kind of hesitating. Frank is like in a delay just a little bit for a second there. Frank is just on this little delay right at the snap. Almost kind of like a little coffee house action, but not really, because he's just going to follow Chris in because Jones just destroys that double team. I mean, he splits him down the middle, and he makes it to where even if it is a slide protection to the right and the center is supposed to be coming off on Frank, he can't. But they take advantage of the right tackle's lack of ability. They just speed Willie around, and Frank jumps on top. It's a big stop early for them there, and they can't even slide protect. I mean, look at Jones get into these guys here. He beats this guy off the ball. He's coming back inside, and now he just crashes into Karras. This guy, you talk about holding, I know there's a lot of holding complaints out there from people that don't know football. You can watch Chris Jones and Frank Clark. They were getting held in the 4th quarter of this one. This was another very crucial play, though. This is right before the half. I thought this was ironic considering how the AFC Championship ended last year, that, kind of a similar situation for the Bengals. They have a chance for a touchdown, and, but really, Burrow is going to be trying to get the ball out of his hands quick, and the Chiefs are only going to rush 4. They have some muddled stuff going on up there. But take a look at Chris Jones again, because, again, if you could take a look at, the top of the screen, you can see that left side of the line just get pushed back, and all of a sudden there's a guy right there affecting Burrow's ability to throw. He has to throw it away. They take a field goal. So as I documented in my first article last week about how they played Jones, I don't have a clip of it, but they used a strategic style of double team. Their guard is taking more of a flat set like he does here. And the whole idea of the flat set is to take away Jones from getting that speed rush up to the outside like he beats a lot of guards with, while their center is in slide protection. He's kind of just showing that hand, giving body presence to Noddy. But the whole goal of what they're trying to do, of what they did the last time they played them, was to get the center to come over on a delay. He's coming over a little bit late, as he does here. And the whole idea is to stop Jones, because Chris sees that much space in there. You can see the goalpost. It's a lot of space. He's taking that all the time. They kind of use that against him this game. But this game, he was quick. He got upfield more vertically instead of going wide down the line into that A gap. So he gets off. He starts out in the 4-eye B, and he gets upfield quick with a spin. And now this basically turns back into a one-on-one, because he's getting ready to get held by this guy. And now he just crashes into Ted Karras. And look at the pad level. He's playing with driving this guy back. This was one of those games where he truly played with that pad level. I haven't seen him play with a ton in his career, but you see how much power he does have. And there's only 4 seconds on the clock. The Bengals come out and take a field goal before halftime, but this play was huge. He makes a pressure. He gets on Burrow, bad pass. Chiefs get off the field with a field goal. That turns out to be the difference. I don't have the wide view of this, but this is situational football. This is 3rd down and 3. 3rd down and 3 situation. So, yeah, you're thinking maybe the Bengals might take a deep shot here. They might go for it on 4th down. They might have deep guys, and they might have a check down. Chiefs are ready for it. Jones obviously draws the attention, but you can see the tight end. I think that's Hayden Hurst coming in. You see Mike Dana drop back. Mike Dana and Nick Bolden are there. That's the check down. It's 3rd and 3, and the Chiefs are rushing 3. Jones has got 3 offensive linemen touching him on this play. And now they gave Burrow a little bit of taste of the medicine that Lou Anarumo has been giving some other quarterbacks, but they get this triple team on Jones. And I thought this is funny because instead of going to help their tackles out, these offensive linemen, the interior guys, they know the assignment. They know they are going to get on Jones. But what they don't account for is Dunlap is just slowly pressing his way back there. Burrow's check down isn't there, so he's going to throw it, gets hit as he throws, and it turns into the interception because the Chiefs only rushing 3. They got the 8 in coverage. They're able to drop guys back. And if you take a look at the wide view, this wasn't a great decision by Burrow. I think he's just trying to force it in there, though they had completed some deep passes early in the game. But the Chiefs, those young secondary guys, they were in alignment. But really just this fear of Jones and what he can do kind of scared these guys almost into giving him the respect of this triple team. And even, him being as dominant as he is, they're thinking, yeah, we can't just leave 2 on him. Dana drops back, clearly takes away the check down that would have been right around like a 6-yard gain, a 1st down. If they do get it off, I don't think that wasn't Hurst. I think that was Trent Irwin. But tip pass, interception. Joe Burrow got a little taste of what the Bengals have been doing. It's really hard to throw into 8-man drops, as not many quarterbacks except for Patrick Mahomes have had to experience. And obviously the play of the game, like we mentioned in the pregame, we were nervous after that 3rd and 6, but when you need a hero to step up, that's what happens. Chris Jones was a playoff hero on this play, 3rd down and 8. He sacks Burrow with, under 40 seconds to play in regulation to get his team the ball back. Look how wide he is. And I think it's funny. He is stupid wide on this play. Carlos Dunlap, I didn't quite get – I wish I would have gotten it in there. You can see in the wide view – right before the snap that Dunlap tried to get him to motion back inside, but he didn't want to do it. He is ridiculously – I've never seen Chris Jones line up this wide. He's in like a 7 or 8 technique. He's inside. This guy is like a tight end the tight end right there next to the right tackle. He's there to try to help chip, but he's so wide. He's like, well, why would I even do this? But you see Chris almost gets like a running start. He's like gets on his launch, and he puts all of his momentum into this guy, catches him leaning, pulls him down, and kind of rips through with that underneath hand. Dunlap leaps at the last second to make sure that Burrow can't get the pass off, and Chris comes in and finishes the play. And, you take a look, really, just a quick shout-out to the secondary, because I know Chris Jones got the love this game, but you take a look at the secondary, there's no one open anywhere either. I don't know. He got into a wide 7 and really just rushed home and won the game. Chris is like 340 this year, so I noticed. I think you're onto something with the Carlos Dunlap thing. I feel like I saw there's a broadcast angle where you're seeing them talk a lot before the snap. They're really discussing something before the snap. I wonder, if Jones is just going rogue here, really widening his alignment just based off of his own, kind of like, look, I want to make a play. This is what I feel like I need to make a play. How I can make a play from this alignment. Like, I trust myself. Like, that's some baller stuff, man. That's some all-pro stuff if that's what's happening. And you saw the emotion he obviously had before the game. You saw the kind of game that he had. It was one of those games that you just knew he wasn't going to let them lose no matter what. His entire career was on the line based on how he's been treated since he got to Kansas City. He's never really gotten his due amongst Chiefs fans, amongst the NFL, really amongst anything, just because he's had to play in the Aaron Donald, the playoff sacks. But all of that's done now because he was the reason why I think they won this football game with a banged up offense, a makeshift offense, and really that young secondary. They needed a guy like him to step up and make his impact.
I'm with you, man. And Nate, you're talking defense too. So why don't you just take it away and talk all the Chris Jones you want? But I know you got obviously other clips. As much as people that want it, we're not just going to show a bunch of Chris Jones clips. We got other stuff to talk about, people.
Yeah, definitely could. But no, I have a few clips just on kind of the defensive structure that the Chiefs kind of did this week because it was a lot smarter. And we're going to start here. The Bengals are in a split gun formation with Jamar Chase in the backfield. And I didn't pull any clips, but this is what the Bengals did versus Buffalo the week before consistently.
I mean, I have the clips if you want them, but
yeah, I know. I was going to shout out your article because that was like a huge thing. What they did was they'd put Chase in the backfield and then they'd run a motion out. Buffalo would push their linebackers, push their nickel across, pretty standard thing to do to deal with the RPO bubble. And then they would just run either right at Taron Johnson, the nickel. They'd run like power right at him, or they would throw the bubble if they didn't like shift. And Buffalo could not align to it the entire game. They had no answers for it. So this is just a play that happens again. They did this a couple times. It was on the first play of the game where Trent McDuffie tackles Jamar Chase one-on-one in space. And actually, the Chiefs were in a bad alignment there because I don't have the clip on me, but it was a 3-over-2, and they threw a rocket screen. So there was going to be a one-on-one with Jamar Chase and Juan Thornhill, which is not optimal at all. And McDuffie just slipped and broke up the screen. But anyways, this play kind of shows how the Chiefs were better at dealing with it and helping like their run integrity and the bubble. So Chase is just going to motion right out of the backfield. And the Chiefs, instead of shifting their linebackers over to deal with this like potential bubble screen or whatever, they just move this weak side safety down. He's going to be this backside kind of B-gap player, and they're going to keep their linebackers in the same spot. I'll show the end zone view, and they'll just push McDuffie right out of the run fit. So now, like, they'll probably just like slant their defensive line to kind of make up for this C-gap being open for where McDuffie can't be. Move this weak side linebacker down. They're just going to kind of run an insert play. I'll show the end zone here in a second. Dunlap just going to slip inside, blows us up. Good play by Nick Bolton, getting over the top, tackling. But again, it's something simple. It was only like a 2-3 yard play, but it was an alignment issue that Buffalo had, and Cincinnati just kept spamming over and over. And the Chiefs were well scouted for it. They were all ready for it, and they had an adjustment ready for that so that they weren't going to be killed in the run game. And I thought that was a big deal this week because after this play, I don't believe Chase is in the backfield once. So that's just like memory. But like I just watched the defense today, and I don't remember Chase being in the backfield after that. So clearly, like that was taken off their menu, and that was like a huge like foundation to their game plan against Buffalo.
I remember you were saying. I remember before the game you were talking about how that leaves maybe kind of your backside receiver there if the safety does have to come up pretty hard. It leaves your backside receiver there a little isolated. I mean, does that say something about the trust they have in the corners too at all?
Oh yeah, definitely. So like if you form like a 4 strong, right? Generally defenses are gonna like push their coverage away. So like if you're playing quarters, your weak side safety, who's on like the left side of the passing strength, he's gonna like work on that number 3 and number 4 receiver who potentially runs that over route.
Yeah,
which means you're 1-on-1 on the backside. This is what the Chiefs did for years with Travis Kelce. Every team does it. Like every team does it to some extent. I mean, the Packers made a living off of it with Devontae Adams. So yeah, that was just shows trust in your secondary and your ability to still like fit the run. It takes away both answers. Nice. I will talk about this Brian Cook, Joshua Williams interception. This should be the Brian Cook interception, but because he made the play, but that's all right. Doesn't matter. So what the Chiefs were doing all night was, all right, so they were running what's called quarter half. And what they did was against the isolate, and they sometimes ran half quarter, but for the purposes of this play, this is quarter half. So against the isolated receiver down here, it was generally Jamar Chase, but on this play, it's T. Higgins. They're going to run kind of a cover 2 cloud coverage. They run more of a bracket this week than normal, but they were either clouding or bracketing. They were basically double teaming T. Higgins. And up top, they were going to run quarters, which I always say quarters is just like a fancy term for man coverage because if it's anything vertical, it's basically man coverage. It's just passing off kind of your underneath the zone routes, but that part doesn't matter. They're going to run quarters to the field, and it's cloud coverage down here on the bottom. Higgins is going to just run like a straight vertical. On the play before, he kind of ran a corner route that the Chiefs blew up too. He's going to actually get kind of Brian Cook in a bad position here. At first, I don't think Brian Cook's ready for snap. I mean, he's turning and running. Like we've seen that happen like last week, or no, excuse me. It was this week, actually, when Brian Cook overran it on that 4th and 6. And it was also the same thing that happened in week 5 versus Devontae Adams. But Cook makes a great play here, shows his ball skills. They're working inside out. He's in great position on T. Higgins. I'll show the close angle. He gets his hand on the ball. Caleb broke down the pass rush, so I won't break that down. But another great play. They were doing this all day. I probably have I'll probably write about this tomorrow. They have 6 clips. I have 6 clips of the Chiefs kind of half clouding Jamar Chase or T. Higgins. And Burrow, for whatever reason, was not working off that side. He wanted to work that isolation side all game long. He was not trusting anything he had on the quarter side because the Chiefs took that away well. And Brian Cook made multiple big plays off of that. And the last play, I won't talk about Chris Jones's kind of pass rush stuff since we already talked about it, but it was actually the changeup. So they're in a 2x2 here. And for the majority of the game, the Chiefs were playing just straight cover 4. They're playing cover 4 to a 2x2, just zoning off everything. If the receiver kind of ran like an over route, they would kind of cut that off. So they were just running straight cover 4 until this last third down where they just run straight 2-man. So it's a 2x2. You have a stack up top. They're just running man coverage with 2 safeties deep. These safeties are kind of pushing out more towards brackets on Higgins and Chase because it's a big third down. And I'll just run the play here. McDuffie is 1-on-1 in the slot. Tyler Boyd being out really did help the Chiefs defense because now they didn't have to worry about shifting coverage to him at all or having the safety work first to him. They just trusted McDuffie straight up to do it. But this is just 2-man. Chris Jones obviously makes a great play defensive end, but like Caleb said, nothing's open here. So I don't know if this is quite the zone beater. They have a zone on the bottom. They run kind of a levels concept with like an out and then like a 12-yard out. Not a great man beater, certainly when you're playing inside leverage. Up top, McDuffie has this kind of seam bender locked up. Safety's working over the top. He's going to drive on this potential dig. Chase stops it, and then Chris Jones obviously makes the play. But those are just 3 defensive plays. I could have pulled probably 10, 12 different plays because the Chiefs' defensive structure was really, really good this game. They basically said, all right, we are not letting Jamar Chase beat us. We are going to if he's in the slot, we are bracketing him inside out, and he wasn't in the slot lot. If he's isolated, he's being clouded. We are not letting Jamar Chase go over the top. We're going to play with hard inside leverage. Otherwise, if it's a bracket, we're going to play with hard outside leverage and have our safety help us with inside leverage too. So And they just played quarters to the field, and they did an exceptional job at that. They were passing things off. If you go to my Twitter, I have a few clips. Nick Bolton made a really good play where he was able to kind of sit in a dig window, but he also played like hard inside leverage to take away Chase, maybe running like a crosser over him. So then Chase had to kind of break out, and by that point, the ball was either thrown away or sacked. I can't remember how that play ended. It was a hold. It was a hold on Mike Dana. That's how the play ended. But it was a great game plan by Steve Spagnuolo. The first time these guys played, it was just cover 2, and they were able to find holes. This time they kind of mixed their coverages more. They still were able to keep the lid off the Bengals enough, besides some sideline shots, which is you're just going to give that up in any coverage. But they took the easy stuff away, and I thought it made a huge difference.
All right, one last question though on that, because Caleb just talked Chris Jones, but when you look at some of those sacks, you look at some of those pressures, or I guess I'll talk specifically about the sacks. It's because he's going off that first read because of something maybe a coverage mix up. I mean, I don't know. Can you say the coverage is more responsible for the defensive success? Is there any way you could say that, or is it just Chris Jones was so dominant you got to give him that crown?
I like to think of it as like a blend. So
I know. I was baiting you.
No, it's a good point though, because if you saw like the Bills game the week before, they couldn't blend any of what they wanted to do in coverage with their pass rush. So they couldn't send any of the simulateds or the blitzes because they couldn't they either couldn't cover behind it, or none of their blitzes worked anyways. But they also couldn't play their just traditional coverage and take some things away over the top or cloud Jamar Chase because they couldn't get pressure up front. The Chiefs were able to blend that this week. And that's such a big deal with that style of defense we played this week, that zone defense, the quarter half. Got to be able to win up front because something's going to come open eventually. Right. So I thought that's where it's a both thing. It sounds like the easy answer, but when your pass rush is winning early enough to where Burrow can't create out of structure and find holes. But when you take away his kind of isolated matchups with Higgins, more Chase, Higgins had some wins, but that was okay. That made a huge difference.
Yeah, no,
Right.
It's because it's the correct answer. It's because what you
Mhm.
said, it is both, right? Because, obviously, if Burrow can get to his second or third read because Jones isn't getting all the way there,
Mhm.
then yeah, the coverage doesn't, everyone's blaming, oh, wow, this soft zone coverage is allowed, it's, so yeah,
Mhm.
no, I was baiting you. I was wanting to see if you would go ahead and just say that Chris Jones was not the most important thing about the defense that game.
No, Brian Cook was.
Yeah, exactly right. No, Brian Cook. No, that was I will say that DPI even too. I mean, it was a very close call. That was almost a
Mhm.
huge play himself. I mean, huge game for him. So definitely glad that you gave him some respect.
Shout out to him for staying consistent, though.
Yeah. Why do you say that?
Well, I mean, you're a rookie in a championship game and you get a couple of giant calls, you
Mhm.
get some stuff that doesn't go your way, you might start hanging your head. He said, I can't do
That's a
that
good
right
point.
now. I got to come down here and tip this pass so my teammate can get the ball. That's just, I don't know. I thought I've seen the rookie DBs play the way they did. Gives me so much confidence moving forward, especially some of the receivers they have this postseason.
Yeah, no, honestly, that's a good point because he did have two huge penalties. I mean, there was a punt. It was on special teams, obviously, but you're right. He came back and made a huge play. So shout out Brian Cook. Going to make the Chiefs think about Juan Thornhill, re-signing this offseason. Probably, thinking a certain way about that. But it's time to talk some offense. We've talked enough defense here for a Chiefs-centric show. And the offense was not fun to watch, I will say. There was a lot of ugliness about the offense. It started obviously with all the injuries happening. Before the game, we hear about Travis Kelce's back tightness, and then in the game, or and even Justin Watson, right? All of a sudden, he's not playing because of an illness, and then Kadarius Toney, McCole Hardman, Juju Smith-Schuster all leave the game at some point, and it really did affect the offense. I mean, Marcus Kemp playing receiver 2 snaps for you. I mean, and you talked about the punt earlier. I mean, that's you said it already there. But the thing is, someone did have to step up, and it was MVS. But the thing is, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, it was not just because there were injuries, right? He was having a good game before the injuries as well. It was actually because of how the Bengals decided to play the Chiefs, and it was actually, maybe not super surprising with the injuries, with Mahomes hobbled, but they decided to load the box a lot more. They decided to play, and it's actually why you saw the run game struggle so much. They were playing a lot more tight fronts, 3-4 fronts, and kind of having that 8th defender closer to the box and leaving one safety deep, leaving either in this play, it's actually Von Bell as the deep safety, not even Jesse Bates. But they were trusting their back end, their safeties to really make plays and kind of, and we're kind of just trusting the fact that Mahomes maybe was going to be hobbled enough to not take advantage of it too much. And, hey, the offense obviously didn't, take advantage of it too much, right? But this is where MVS excels. When you open up the seams, when you open up the deep sideline, when he can really, find space, downfield, he's not, covered up by two safeties. That's where he excels, man. That's where he can become, or that's where he is a really good player, and that's where he shows his strengths. And you'll see it right here with the route running. I mean, he runs the corner on the smash concept. Actually, nice little design to get to it too. So you'll see Jesse Bates right here. He comes up because he's going to be on Kelce. This is just a man with a one man, cover one man, and so you'll have the one safety deep. But the Chiefs actually protect with all 8 guys here, and just do the two man route on the smash concept, right? Pacheco leaks late, but this is a 2-man route, and so there's really Mahomes is really only going one place here. Really, if he doesn't want to go MVS here, he's probably either dirting this or, I mean, I guess Juju probably is going to get open for him a little later or check it down, but so the Bengals have all these guys close to the line of scrimmage, and they completely waste Bates. Watch Jesse Bates here. Obviously Kelce's blocking. You don't expect Kelce to be blocking on a play like this, right? You expect him to be doing something. So they completely waste Jesse Bates. And then MVS just makes a great adjustment. And this is what I mean by this is, it can be, they were using his strengths in the passing game is, he's had some bad drops this year, right? But I feel like a lot of his drops are mental, just kind of, just mental mistakes more than like he can't, he doesn't have good hands or he doesn't have like the hand size, because he has a great wingspan and it just pops up on a play like this. And actually the next play too is it pops up on that play as well. But I ended up saying that MVS was the offensive MVP of the game because of plays like this. He ended up with 6 catches for over 100 yards, 116 yards, I believe, and a touchdown. But this even shows his strengths in what he does even more. He runs another corner route. Again, it's man coverage with the one high safety. This time it's not, it's not a 2-man route. It's actually, it's actually a legitimate pass play, although there's added protection there. But again, one high safety this time. It is, or no, that's Von Bell again too, isn't it? Because Bates is on Fortson right there. So Von Bell here is the deep safety. But watch MVS fight through this outside leverage that Mike Hilton has on him because he does release inside. Just doesn't break any speed, doesn't break the timing of the route at all. And that's one of his strengths of his game is he really does not lose speed. He's really good at fighting through physical coverage downfield to get to his deeper pass patterns. And again, one high safety, this is where MVS excels in this part of the field, deep to the sideline where he can use his length. And again, he makes a great adjustment on the field or a great adjustment on the ball. Again, Mahomes is placing these behind him, I think, kind of on purpose. I would say the first one he could have put to the sideline, but he is trying to save him a little bit, right? That corner does have trailing leverage, and there is a little bit of window to the outside, but it's also the safety too. I mean, he has to layer that ball, and it's better for MVS to kind of turn and kind of sit where he is rather than continue running to the sideline, kind of sit down on the ball. Mm-hmm. So these are good throws by Mahomes, but MVS great adjustments as well. I mean, this isn't necessarily that easy to run and turn, on your back shoulder like this. So if you had any comments, Nate, you could go ahead on that.
I was just going to say, people, I mean, I sometimes struggle with this too. They'll be like, well, that throw was behind. That was a bad throw. No, I think you're right. Like, he doesn't want his safety or MVS to be killed by 24 potentially. Yeah. And I mean, it's hard to throw a ball in front. So if you throw it behind, go ahead.
Right. Because if you're outstretched, if you're right, completely laid out, he can just put that shoulder under your armpit and really, lift you and give you a shot. But kind of being able to turn and sit, like you said, yeah.
Yes.
I think you're right on that. But this was the big play. This was the touchdown, and this was, I honestly did not catch this post game. Someone had to tell me this. I honestly, it might have been, I cannot remember where someone was telling me this, but MVS actually gets this touchdown himself, really, honestly, because he's not the primary read. Mahomes wants to go to Kelsey here to the left. He's going to be double. He's going to be bracketed with the man coverage, and then the safety comes down on him kind of in that robber roll trying to take away something. And so it ends up being a one high again, pretty much, right? It does end up being with Jesse Bates now as the one high. Well, Mahomes goes left, knows Kelsey's not going to be open. And Jesse Bates anticipates where he's going to go next, right? He anticipates, all right, Sky Moore on the shallower crossing route. This is a natural progression for him. This is his second read. I'm going to jump that. Well, he probably just didn't bank on Mahomes having enough time to get to this third read, honestly. I mean, this is just Jesse Bates trying to be a playmaker, but what he does is leave the middle of the field wide open for MVS to run the backside post. And why I say MVS gets this play himself is because someone told me and I heard it post game. Mahomes was explaining that he saw the hand and he just went with it, right? He saw the hand. It was kind of cloudy for him to see what where the coverage was, I guess. So he saw MVS's hand and trusted that, hey, he has a window, I'm going to throw it. And you can kind of see when he throws it, off platform here. I mean, it is kind of a shaky, where he's at, there's a lot of pressure going around, right? He probably doesn't see the safety that well, and it's a touchdown. And so, MVS doesn't run anything special on the route here. It opens up pretty well for him. And it's just a Jesse Bates trying to be a playmaker, but Mahomes getting all the way to his third read. I mean, I was told that he was a street ball quarterback and couldn't do that.
Good job widening his route, though, I will say.
Widening his route.
Yeah, look at kind of Hilton kind of have to kind of feign outside a little bit, and he kind of explodes right off of that. So good route too. But your point's well taken.
Well, yeah. No, I appreciate you pointing that out because that is a great route. You're right. Absolutely. And the one, it was just all about this one high look. I guess is my real point is that MVS stepped up because there were injuries, but it was honestly because the Bengals were playing to his strengths with how they were running a lot of their coverages with the one high looks. I mean, that's where MVS is going to feast, and he hasn't had tons of those opportunities as much this year. And when he has, we've seen him make big plays. And so, wasn't a huge coincidence that he was making big plays against a one high, primary look this night too. So that's all I got. And that's all we got, boys. Caleb, if you got any takes on the offense, MVS, anything, I'll let you take the floor here.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting, last season, for the first part of his career, MVS is playing with, Aaron Rodgers, and we know how Rodgers operates business up there. He's kind of a weirdo, kind of an oddball kind of guy. And I don't really think Rodgers instills a lot of confidence in his guys. You see him playing. He's throwing to Devontae when he was in Green Bay a lot. It took him a while this year to figure things out with these other guys. You take a guy like MVS, they tried to pigeonhole him into doing one job, and he's got a quarterback that maybe doesn't trust him. You put him in the Chiefs system where Andy Reid's going to build him up, where he's going to be around a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, who's going to say, I'm not going to, I'm not here to just yell at you. I want to help you, work with you. I want to help you get better week after week. And it all culminated in this game where they desperately needed him. But we've also hit the point of Patrick Mahomes' career where he's throwing iconic touchdown passes to guys like Marquez Valdez-Scantling. So I think that's something also might go back to, some of the Tyreek stuff from this past offseason. It's probably a little, that probably felt pretty good for Mahomes to fire that one in there to him.
Absolutely. Yeah. MVS all of a sudden a Chiefs legend. I mean, maybe not legend, maybe, there's a lot of legends now, but a memorable Chief all of a sudden, no matter what happens, for the rest of his career. Nate, any final words as we wrap up here talking about the AFC Championship?
You were cutting out. I have no idea what you just said.
Any final words,
Sorry.
Nate? On no, you're good. Any final words on the
Okay.
AFC Championship as we move on to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, obviously it's exciting. I'll say about the offense. I was really invested in it, obviously during the game, so I was kind of mad at what they were doing, but they had to simplify the offense so much with the wide receiver injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, even I was like, Andy, why are you running like the ball all the time? Well, they had to. Like he probably had like 20 calls. Like he couldn't. There was so little what they could do. And, again, survive in advance, figure it out. I mean, the key now is just getting those receivers healthy. I mean, that's everything for these next 2 weeks. If these receivers aren't healthy, I'm not feeling great. But, and the injury, just to say, the injury report doesn't look great today. It doesn't matter. We're 10 days away. The injury report right now has no indication of what it'll look like 10 days from now. But, yeah, get receivers healthy and, let's roll.
You're right. No, I'm with you on the injury report. Let's worry about that next week. For now, let's just keep celebrating the AFC Championship this week. Let's just keep celebrating the fact that the Chiefs, in a year that they were supposed to be rebuilding, they were supposed to be, second, third, even fourth place for some people in the division, won the AFC Championship. And it's nice to be a Chiefs fan. It's good to be a Chiefs fan. Good to break down film with you guys. It was a fun time. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you comment if you got anything for us. Like and follow us all on Twitter. Our ats are in our names here on the little bubbles. For Caleb, for Nate, I'm Ron. I appreciate you guys watching, and we will catch you next week talking about a Super Bowl.